as we go through life, we'll be strong in certain areas, weak in other areas, but the goal should be to look at the areas that you're weakest at and try to at least bring them up.
Yeah.
The biggest threat to an entrepreneur is externalizing their success and basing their self-worth on what other people think. But what I'm saying to you here is probably the most important code that I could share with you.
Welcome to the Unstoppable Podcast with your host, Johnny Pierce. In this podcast, we are going to cover all you need so that you can develop unstoppable confidence and build an unbreakable mindset. And we will make sure that everything you listen to is unforgettable. We will dissect the lessons from the people you want to hear from, and you have access to this completely free of charge. And if you like it, don't forget to share it with your friends, and I will see you on the inside.
Welcome back to the Unstoppable Podcast. I'm incredibly excited today because I've got Mr. Phil Graham here today. Thanks, Phil, for coming. For those of you that don't know, Phil doesn't really need an introduction, but for those of you that don't know, Phil has mentored over 10,000 people. He's made millions in profit along the way and had a huge impact on the industry that he works within. So I recommend that you get a notepad, a pen, and take some notes in this episode because it's going to be loaded with value. Phil, thanks for having us.
My pleasure, and thank you for taking the time and effort to do all this. I know how much work behind the scenes it takes to get a videographer and clip it all up and put this content out free on the internet for people to learn, so go you.
Yeah, it's epic, and we're obviously here in the beautiful Strabolante. This is a bit of a project of yours. Tell us about it.
Yeah, this is a bit of an outlet for me to chill out and take my time away from business to think and socialize. As people say, you know, it's down to the quality of people that you have in the room, and this was an opportunity for me to create a room to bring great people to and have masterminds and dinners. I'm a big fan of socializing and just really having high quality conversations with people that are doing great things, and this environment set the stage for it. I pretty much think about business and personal growth 24/7. It's a huge expression of my life force, and I built an environment where I get to fully express that and enjoy it and savor it. And it can be a little bit too much for some people, but I do not give a fuck because I love what I do. I love my life, and I've engineered it in a way where I get to live and do exactly what I want. So yeah, I think everybody should take a note from that, because most people end up building a life to please others rather than please themselves. And if you don't put yourself first, you can't be of service to everyone else, you know?
Yeah.
So,
On that, in recent times, there's been a documentary about your whole life and everything that went on. It was released on Amazon Prime. I've watched it. It's incredible. If you haven't already, you should check it out. But talk us through that. What impact has that had on your life? How did that come about? And, you know, how has that impacted you?
well, it's really a byproduct of the challenges that I overcame and what I decided to do with challenge. When I was 16, I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. It was sent to kill me, and I went, no, that's not going to happen. So I decided to do something about it, and I turned my diabetes into a personal mission, which then became a career mission, and then that turned into a worldly mission where, you know, being diagnosed and having no background in exercise or nutrition, I very quickly realized that nutrition, exercise, lifestyle, mindset were my saviors. Because whenever I was marched down the corridor, when I was told that I had type 1 diabetes, and if you've ever had a major health condition and you go into a dark olive green / gray clinical sterile hospital like the Royal or the City Hospital, you're kind of like, oh, this place is, you can just smell death. And I was told that there is a chance I might experience this particular condition or that particular organ failure or X, Y, and Z. And there was all these threats throwing around, but the language that was wrapped around those threats was very speculative, in the sense of it was might, potentially, could, and I realized there was hope there. And then I listened further, and I found that there were specific variables, factors, activities, actions like nutrition, training, all that kind of stuff that would protect me. So literally overnight, I engrossed myself in understanding those areas, and, you know, pursued, you know, a university degrees, 7 years in nutrition and all of those kinds of things to really help myself. And I got very good at it. I got very intrigued in it. I got very interested in it. And I was always very entrepreneurial. I was always very, very defiant when it came to my time and how I used that. And freedom is such a big value of mine. The ability to do what I want, when I want, with who I want, hence the strong words at the start. And I, decided that the only way that I was going to get freedom was to master those areas and also master the ability to make my own income. And, if I wanted to build a reputation, I had to master providing value to other people. So I really dove deep on not only the skill set that I was going to help other people with, that I was going to help myself with, but how to actually turn that into a mechanism that paid me to live the life that I want and double down on that purpose. So it was very synergistic, not only self-serving, but also serving of others equally to allow me to grow that. And yeah, I mean, without diabetes, I wouldn't have gone into fitness. Went into personal training. My dream was to run my own nutrition clinic. And I started lifting weights and training in one of the most hardcore bodybuilding gyms you could ever imagine. And I ventured from the recumbent bike the whole way down to the weight training room where you could literally just smell the test. And it was a very fascinating period. I just was fascinated by how can people lift weights at this level. And I suppose, I was coming out the other end of a diabetes diagnosis where I was malnourished and just not really at my healthiest. So it was like the polar opposite of what I was currently expressing and living. And I just went, I'm going to have that and I'm going to do it. And I got recognized very quickly for knowing my stuff around nutrition and training and all of those kinds of things. And I made a massive transformation in myself. Other people saw that. They started asking me, can you do me a diet program, training program? And then I remember in like a week, I made the equivalent of what I would make in a year being in a top career in the health service or running a nutrition clinic based on the research that I'd done. And I went, what? I can do this at my own time, my own leisure, and I'm just going to go all in on it. And then I did, and I haven't looked back since. And then other coaches started seeing what I had done. And I initially started coaching coaches on nutrition and exercise and all those kind of components. And then it very swiftly turned to business because I realized that that's what I love talking about and what I was best at. And I just developed a really great skill of building coaching businesses. And I mean, Fitness Entrepreneur now, we've worked with 11,296 clients the last time I checked the other week. And we disrupted an industry. My mom always said to me, like, what do I call you? Like, you've gone to university for 7 years. A PT's like a dropout. Like, because we always used to go to this place in Belfast called Olympia Leisure Centre to go swimming in the morning. And there was like a PT there. This is like, you're talking like early 2000s. If not before that, in the 90s. And there was a PT there. It was like typical like skinhead, tattoos, definitely on gear, and dance music like fucking blasting. And it was a dropout career. Yeah. And I went to a grammar school and all of that kind of stuff where it's just this glorified BS of like become this, become that to become successful. And yeah, it was like a massive pivot. And I was like, my mom's like, what do I tell my friends? What do you do? And I'm like, I'm a fitness entrepreneur. I'm a fitness guy that just so happens to be an entrepreneur. Call me that. And that was the identity that I gave myself. And that's what I built the company around. And we've transformed an awful lot of people and helped a lot of people really just, get a really firm start in business with their passion and their skill set for coaching. And yeah, I mean, you've been part of that. You've seen the global impact of that. And the documentary was really when you do good stuff, people pick it up. And I never intended to be famous. I just wanted to be a really good specialist at what I did. I always wanted to make money. I always wanted to help people. I first of all started by helping myself. it all came from that. Like, I had to help myself first before I did anything else. And, that's a big important lesson for this,
And you talk about that impact. You've had a profound impact on my life, and it's not often you get to publicly thank someone who's had an impact in your life. So I just want to say thank you, because I wouldn't be the business owner that I am today. I wouldn't be the man that I am today if it wasn't for your help. I reached out to you as a 20-year-old that didn't have much of a clue about life or business, and I still, when I speak to anyone, I still thank you, and I put it down to the impact that you had on me. And I hate whenever people don't give credit to the people that actually impacted them from the very, very start. You were my first mentor, you were my longest serving mentor, and you had more of an impact than you probably realize on me, and I can't thank you enough for that. And when you talk about disrupting an industry, I can hand on heart say that is absolutely true what he says, because I've seen so many people emulate what you do, and it kind of frustrates me because they've went to you, learned from you, and then went and emulated it. And to me, I'm sure that does frustrate you. How does that make you feel whenever you've kind of taught someone something and then they come into the fitness space, which is the space that you are in and were in and still continue to be in, and then potentially emulate what you've done and taught them?
Yeah, that happens a lot. I've developed a very thick skin and deep understanding of that, where they've come in and they've maybe seen how I operate and how I run, and looked at that maybe purely on financial gain, or like an evolution of who they are, but they aren't taking into account the circumstances and mission that drove me to be there, because I never intended to be where I am initially. When I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes, if you told me that I was going to be the guy that disrupted an entire fitness industry and actually brought an undervalued career and, made it something worthy and meaningful, and ultimately something that was, a career that would outpace the majority of professional careers that society would tell us are successful. It took me a while to clock onto that mission, because I wanted to do it with myself, and everything that I have done and what I do with Fitness Entrepreneur was teaching from a place that I had achieved myself. So there was very much a deeper purpose behind all of that, that they can't see. And if you go in to run a business just to make money, it's not a great operating system. A vision in life is one of the most important things that's going to get you out of bed in the morning. And having a vision to be rich is not a great vision. Having a vision to be popular is not a great vision. I had a vision to save myself and change the world and change people and deeply influence and impact people's lives. And I got an immense amount of value from that. And that for me was my driving force, and that's why I did so well. There were plenty of risks at the time doing it, because again, nobody valued a PT. A PT was the bottom of the barrel career. Yeah. And people laughed at personal trainers. I can remember people laughing at me when I was going to go into it and being frowned upon, or he's just a PT. And I removed that stigma from the industry.
Yeah, exactly. And I think obviously from PT, you originally started as a PT, then coach, then mentor, you've evolved, you became more respected, you achieved more success, and people seen you as the authority in that particular industry. Now, especially in the circles that I'm in, I know your worldwide coaching program runs all around the world, but in Northern Ireland in particular, that's the audience of this podcast. Obviously, business owners will be listening to this. What do you think is a barrier for a business owner in Northern Ireland compared to other countries in the world? What do you think holds people and business owners from Northern Ireland back? And how do you think it's different to other parts of the world?
Well, for Northern Ireland, maybe Brexit, but certain logistical and legal things, but anything that holds somebody back is universal. And I wouldn't be looking at just Northern Ireland. You could say that Northern Ireland is very backwards, very narrow-minded, and they don't like seeing people do well. But that's universal. That's a universal challenge, and there's always going to be an equal amount of people that love you and an equal amount of people that hate you, despite not even knowing you. But the reality is, you shouldn't be building a business or leading a life to please others. You should be building a business. You should be pursuing your life in order to fulfill you and the people that are closest to you, which is your family. And then out from that is your customers and your friends and things like that. So family, friends, customers, because they all make your life possible. And it's very easy to externalize success. I'll be successful when I have this, or when I'm at this number, or when I've got this size of team, or when I get to this level of market reputation, or whenever I get this career promotion. But that's all external, and you'll find usually whenever you achieve something like that, you're left empty because it was an external goal. The most important relationship is the one with your mission and what you're doing with your life and why you're doing what you're doing. That is the most powerful factor in any man or woman's life, is their mission and what they're doing. What is the battle? What is the war that they're going up against that's worthy of pursuing? And that's to disrupt an industry, change lives, and also change their own in the process. And that can be through, heck, if you run an engineering company that you're, building machines that, improve how a hospital is built, or if you're, running some kind of recruitment agency that's putting people in the right places so that a company can have a global impact, and you can help reduce cost and do it with speed and do it with ease. It's very important to have a mission, because we overlook the mission at the expense of metrics. So the amount of money that we make, the amount of followers that we have, the amount of visibility that we have, the amount of security that we have. We all know somebody that has a lot of money that's very unhappy. We all know somebody that has great health metrics and a great body, but is skint. We all know somebody that's a great family person and doesn't prioritize business. So the goal in life is to have a very strong mission and strengthen all of the areas of physical health, personal finances, agency over your mind, family and relationships and friends, community impact and involvement. And as we go through life, we'll be strong in certain areas, weak in other areas, but the goal should be to look at the areas that you're weakest at and try to at least bring them up.
Yeah.
And every entrepreneur, the biggest threat to an entrepreneur is externalizing their success and basing their self-worth on what other people think. And again, I started the podcast with a very strong statement that will probably have put some people off initially, like, who the fuck is this guy? But what I'm saying to you here is probably the most important code that I could share with you, because when you build from an internal sense of purpose and mission and fulfillment and the relationship with yourself, you don't need to prove yourself to anybody else, because anything else that you do to prove to others that you're good enough or you're worthy of love is usually built around fear, and it's not genuine, it's not authentic. Whereas when you build from a place of personal sovereignty and you're doing it to literally, like business is a personal growth challenge. The real purpose of business is not to get more leads, it's not to get more sales, it's not to grow the best company in the world, it's to grow the best you, and it's to grow the best people that you impact and surround yourself with. Your family first, your clients, your friends, and everybody that you interact with in that business journey. So, every business owner is guilty of, I'm not making enough, they're making more than me, therefore I'm not good enough. And that's one metric of finance. They're more popular than me. It's the same in school games. Who was the best boy? Who's the top sports guy? Who's the most academic in the school? I can tell you now, I know individuals in school that were smarter than me. I know individuals in school that had wealthier parents than my parents. I know people in school that were more academic than me. And they, looking at their lives now, back then I would have wanted the skills and traits and things that they had. But looking at my life now, I can't think of anything fucking worse. And it takes you to go through a season of understanding that to be able to then press reset on your life and actually prioritize what's important. And the majority of the world is concerned with what other people think. And, Steve Jobs talked about this signal to noise ratio. And the signal is your mission, your purpose, your reason for being on the planet, and the connection and relationship to yourself, which comes as a result of pursuing your mission and doing tough things and knowing that you came out the other side. Noise is what the world thinks. Noise is social media. Noise is trying to build a business to fit in, or trying to control everything and looking at what everyone else is doing. If you step outside of my home and you go into the local village, or you sit on a bus, or you sit on a train, Everybody is consuming other people's lives and they're forgetting about their own. So that's noise. And signal is really just focusing on winning the day. We can talk about like the big vision or the weekly goals or the monthly goals or, you know, the quarters, targets. See, the minute you start thinking about that shit, it's important to have it, but when you start thinking about that in your day, it just dilutes the fucking focus and the bandwidth that you have. Whereas you behave your way to success, you behave your way to outcomes, and you need to know what your daily behaviors are, and your daily behaviors are working towards specific goals and targets for the day. So like for my day today, I have 3 very specific things that I need to do that if I do, I've won the day. If I don't do those things, I'm on the back foot. Now, of course, there's always going to be things that come in, but I do not want my mind clouded with fucking noise. So I am very disciplined around social media. I'm very disciplined around who I hang around with. I'm very disciplined around how I spend my time. I'm very disciplined around the internal conversation in my mind. And I'm always looking at where is the limiting belief? Where is the doubt? How can I zap that? How can I eliminate that? How can I wipe that out? And that's clean thinking, clean living. And I do not want to be distracted by bullshit. Because when I get distracted by needing to impress somebody else, people please somebody else, watch what somebody else is doing, I'm getting distorted from my vision. I am the most energized and the most charged when I'm clear. And for other people, it will paint you in 2 lights. A lot of people will be attracted to it because they'll see the certainty and they'll see the leadership and they'll see the execution, but it will also intimidate a lot of other people. It will put a lot of other people off because it references to them that you have a vision, you have a purpose, and you're willing to do anything to get towards it. And they will call you selfish. Who do they think they are? X, Y, and Z. But they don't actually understand the operating system behind why you do what you do. So they will very quickly label you. And there's no other way to clarify that you're an absolute halfwit when you look at somebody and vilify them without knowing them or knowing their purpose, and you automatically come off with a label. If anything, it's more of an internal reflection on you as to what do you see in them that you don't see in yourself. And people will come up with all kinds of little excuses, bits and pieces to make themselves feel better. And that's a very important defense mechanism for understanding and having a level of awareness around business and growth, because business and growth is doing uncomfortable stuff, stepping outside of your comfort zone, and that really requires courage. And it can be so easy to be distracted by, they called me that, or they were talking about me this and that. Well, do they know the full picture? No. Have they come to a conclusion? Yes. What does that tell you? They're a fucking idiot because they haven't actually taken into account the full awareness. And when you know yourself, and you know your mission, and you know what you're doing, and somebody has been able to come with a incomplete awareness and put a label on you, you know they're fucking ruled out of your game because they're a fucking idiot. And you rule people out like that because they interfere with the mission. And when they interfere with the mission, they're either pulling you back or they're either driving you forward. It's very fucking simple. And when I say mission, I don't necessarily mean business mission. You could have a community mission, a life's purpose mission. You could be fucking helping your kid that has had a condition that you really want to just do the best to save them. There's so many different types of missions. But a mission is what is really worth waking up to. You want to kill a man, take his mission away from him. And that's like how you defeat wealth. Yeah. How you defeat success. How you defeat happiness is you remove somebody's purpose from them, because you remove all meaningful tension from their life. And then they lose track of what they're doing. And as a result, they end up letting the world define their mission rather than they define it. So
exactly. And you've touched upon a lot there. So we've looked at multidimensional success, so there's more than one element to success. You've talked about breaking things down into daily goals instead of looking at the long term all the time, your mission for every single day, your mission for life in general. And when you think about the core driver of that, I suppose a lot of people listening to this will be thinking about health, energy, and performance, how they can perform at their best, how they can have more energy, how they can look after their health. How important is that as the driving force of everything that you've just spoken about? And has there ever been a time
I have
that you've
a very
neglected it?
opinionated view on that.
Okay.
Your health and your physique have absolutely no bearing on your performance in life. And let me just show you an example. You can be look at the incredible businessmen in the world. None of them are in shape. None of them prioritize health. They've got a mission. Look at the best fathers in the world. Are they all in shape? No. They've got a mission and they've got a purpose. Look at individuals that do amazing stuff for their community. Are they all in shape? No. They've got a purpose. So purpose and mission comes first, but if you want to get more out of it, it makes logical sense to ensure that the vehicle that you are in to deliver and express that purpose and mission is prolonged and protected. So health actually comes after. The first thing is to find your mission. Getting a set of abs and building a great set of biceps and doing ice baths and eating better is not going to make you perform better in business if you don't have a mission and you don't know what to focus on. If you don't know what to focus on, then you'll end up actually spending too much time in the gym and you'll waste time. For every hour you spend in the gym, you need to spend 3 hours on your purpose. So it is definitely complementary. Is it something that comes first? You could argue, well, if I don't have a mission or a purpose, maybe I'm going to look after myself and my mission is me, first and foremost. So I think that a lot of people put a lot of faith in, again, it's like putting faith in it. When I make money, I'm going to be happy. When I have the body, I'm going to be happy. No, you're not. What is the overall arching purpose and mission of your life? Why are you here? And your mission is divided into two things. How can you serve yourself and how can you serve others? And what do you constantly think about and envision that you wish you were doing? And that is a challenge that is going to energize you. Mm-hmm. If you want to fuck yourself up, I'm swearing a lot today. I've had a lot of caffeine. But if you really want to screw yourself up, just don't have a mission.
Yeah. And I'm sure Penelope has added to your mission and enhanced it. What impact or what has becoming a father taught you that business never did?
That's a really good question. So I have a 4-year-old daughter. I'll tell you what. I thought quality of time mattered with my daughter. So I've built the processes, the team, and all of that stuff to be able to spend quality time with my daughter. And quality time with my daughter for me was sitting uninterrupted, like 30 minutes, an hour, 2 hours, whatever it may be, pure attention. But Penelope does not know the difference between quality time and quantity of time. And your kids want quantity of time, not necessarily quality of time. They just want to be in your presence. And that is a big realization for me, is the quantity of time. I'm also responsible for the energy that I bring into my house. So if I've got stuff in my head or I'm processing stuff and I'm not overly present with my wife, or I'm trying to battle something in my mind, I know that I am not going to be the nicest energy to be around in the house. Mm-hmm. So I try to resolve those problems and make those decisions quickly to get out of that state, which every entrepreneur knows when they come in late after work and their mind's racing and they're still finishing off bits and pieces and they're eating their dinner with, tinfoil over it and heating it up because they've been late. So that's a big thing. Number 3 is challenging her. I'm very, very much into, my daughter does not just ask for stuff and get it. I don't want to build complacency. I think that the most irresponsible thing that I could do, whilst I do want my kid to have a really great upbringing, is to just give her everything that she wants. And that breeds entitlement, that breeds complacency. And it's important to give her an equal amount of support and an equal amount of challenge so that she knows that in life things just don't come easy. From the perspective of, you don't just ask and get it, you have to often work for it, you often have to do something in return to get it. And I think that's a great principle for relationships, for business, for economics, for money, for anything really. So that's important. What else from a a kid's perspective. All of that combined, really, those are my major insights that I've learnt.
And your opinion's changed over time?
Well, I initially had assumptions of how I thought things were going to go, and I've had to, obviously learn from experience and realize that I can be wrong, or I can make misjudgments. You won't know until you find that out. I went in with great intentions, so my intentions were strong. But yeah, the quantity of time thing was a big thing, because they just want to be in your presence and they just want to feel safe.
Yeah, 100%. And a lot of people will have been listening to this podcast and maybe built a business but sacrificed their relationship on that journey and getting married this Thursday. What advice would you give to me going into married life?
I don't regurgitate a lot of the stuff that people would say to you. Lauren's probably not going to listen to this, so I'll give it to you straight. Number one is, don't rely on somebody else for your happiness. Happiness is an internal job. Number two is, share a vision together. If you don't share a vision together of what you want your life to look like, where you want to go, then your relationship will fall apart. Number three, in order to fully commit to your relationship, you have to love and embody all the parts of your wife, the good and the bad. You can't just embody and take on the good. So that means her past, that means her current and her future. Have a weekly meeting to discuss, where are we going, what's working, what's not working, what do I need to apologize for. Communicate properly. At any point in time where you feel out of exchange in the relationship, or it's dying, you need to raise that point immediately. Otherwise, you'll go and look elsewhere, or vice versa. It's just natural human law. Your wife wants your time, and so does your kid. So investing time in them is not a waste of time. It is not holding you back from business. The wisest use of your time is actually in them, not your business. But you need to build the business to a point, again, this is where vision comes in, where it can provide the lifestyle and the materialistic things and the freedom and the experiences to live more fully and enjoy that, depending on your taste preference, your style preference, and whatever it is that you like doing, whether you like going skiing to St. Moritz or whether you just like going to Port Rush. What do you guys enjoy? And, really getting clear on what the business needs to be delivering, both profitability take home and free time to provide you with the space and the resources to live that life. And if it's not where you want it to be, then what are the seasons that I need to go through in order to get it to where I want it to be? And what does that look like? And how do I communicate that to my partner, where I can simply communicate that I am on a goal, I've got a mission, I need support, I'm going to be under pressure, and you commit to the personal growth that goes alongside that to de-risk it, rather than just jumping in, panicking, building a business just to make money, and then ended up working all the hours and then losing the relationship, which was the very thing that you wanted. Because, as men, we just, we want a partner that accepts all of us, that is stable, that is low maintenance, that is challenging, that is thrilling, that is exciting. You need to have that balance in your relationship. You have to be deeply interested in the person that you want to marry, rather than just the superficial looks or reputation that they may have, or inheritance that they may have, or whatever it is. And I share those things because they're reasons why people go into relationships. I want to be with the best looking girl so that I can say to the rest of the guys, look, I'm like, I made it. I'm good looking. I've got this girl by my side. Or, You can go into a relationship because somebody has money and you want to inherit that money and you don't really like the person and it's your way of escaping. Like, these are very legitimate, raw fucking points that need to be externalized and put on the table first before you look at a relationship. Why the fuck am I going into this? Because a marriage is a commitment, I have different views on marriage and religion and all those kinds of things as well, which I think marriage is a very cultural thing, but again, that's a whole another podcast.
Yeah, that could be a podcast in itself, the relationship advice. But when we think about moving forward and your mission, your next mission, I know probably from knowing you the last 11 years, you could probably hang up the boots at this stage and pack it all in. What's driving Phil Graham today? Why are you still going, and why are you introducing this new element to your business, which is expansion, where you're going to be working with entrepreneurs, business owners outside of the fitness industry?
Well, the next level of my life is building this next organization called Lifestyle Entrepreneur. I believe a business owner goes into business to get freedom, and freedom is grounded on your reputation. The better your reputation, the easier everything gets. Profitability, it's what you take home at the end of the day. And freedom, which is a space to live and enjoy your reputation and the fruits of your labor and your profit. And I was a specialist for, the last 15 years in the fitness space. And I never taught fitness. I taught business. And I see the amount of SMEs and business owners that are really talented and skilled at their specific thing, but they don't know how to run a business. And I've got a lot of skills and insights that can really dramatically improve the quality of a stressed out, burnt out, typical run-of-the-mill business owner. And, the deeper purpose of my work is to get them to grow a business to a level of profit, freedom, and reputation where they begin to do the real work and start looking at why they're here and what they do with their life. In fact, I get a lot of people in business to a level where they make so much money beyond what they ever thought possible that they then go, this isn't what I want, and that's when the real work begins. So that's my deeper seed and purpose behind my new chapter, and that's called Lifestyle Entrepreneur. We've got our first event expansion on the 5th of September 2025. We launched it like about 52 hours ago. We've got 60% of it sold with 2 months of it to go. And we will create some mega success stories in that. And why do I do it? I do not need the money. I definitely don't need the stress and the hassle. You're rightly so. I could retire now and go and do jiu-jitsu and shooting and barbecue all day. But it's like when you go on holiday, man. You can only drink so much, you can only eat so much shite, you can only lie out in the sun for so long until you realize this is fucking boring. Mm-hmm. And I love a good challenge, I love a good war. And the purpose for me is very simple. I just want to get stronger. So I'm addicted to that. I love the game of building. I feel it literally through my veins and through my system. It electrifies me. Yeah. Taking risks, testing things out, failing, rebuilding, coming back. I just fucking love the game. That's what brings me alive. I just love to hunt. I just love to fucking go after it. And I love to get rewarded for it. And I love to serve. One of the currencies when I first built my business was hearing people say, you've changed my life. You did that at the start of this podcast. That fulfills me and energizes me. And I love building a system around that. So that's currently the chapter, like the chapter in my life that I'm at. Like, and I definitely did struggle to bring this together because I didn't need to do it. I just didn't need to do it. And I was like, flipped, I have to go again here. What's the point? Why am I even doing this? And it took me, I'm going to say a good year and a half to actually go, you know what, we're going to do it. Yeah. And you can sit and overthink shit all day long. But there is nothing better in business than making a decision and committing to something, putting it out there publicly and going after it. And you've no other option but to make it happen. So I'm very excited to do it. There's a significant amount of life-altering value that we can give, and it's going to be a very exciting chapter, and we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I'm excited to see how it goes, and I'm excited to see the impact you have on the people that end up getting involved. And I suppose
all walks of life. Like, we've people from financial advisors, aesthetics clinics, construction, hiring, recruitment, cleaning agencies, predominantly service-based business owners that, well, I break business down into 5 core components. The founder operating system, that's your vision, your mission, your decision-making, your risk analysis, how you manage your energy, attention, getting attention online. Everybody uses the internet to run a business. Monetization of that attention, customer success, loyalty and retention, and leverage, which is team performance, systems and culture. So all of those components combined are the sum of the parts that make up a business. And you will struggle to find somewhere that looks at that. I hate the word holistically, but collectively, because, you know, most business owners think they have a leads and sales problem. No, they don't. They have a fulfillment problem. Their team shit, their product shit, and people leave. Because if their product was amazing, people would be talking about it more, staying more, and they wouldn't have to battle with churn. The next thing to look at is sales, like the ability to actually convert. So if you get 10 leads into your pipeline and you're only converting 3, like if we brought your sales process and your sales skill up and you were able to convert 5 or 7, what does that do for the lifetime value of a customer that you bring in? Then you're into lead generation. But even going a step back, like behind product, is you. If your life's off, if your relationship's off, if your energy's off, if your mission's off, everything up that chain is affected. So most entrepreneurs get complacent, most entrepreneurs are scared, and most entrepreneurs don't think big enough. And when I say think big enough, I don't mean that in a glorified rah-rah way. They're just like cocooned in their little comfort zone and realize that the minute you get comfortable, there's nothing wrong with resting and enjoying your life. But the minute that you get complacent and just tolerate and settle is the minute that you stop expanding. And no human being wants to contract. They want to expand. They want more freedom. They want more peace. They want more growth. They want more challenge. They want more support. And that can only come from stepping outside of your current life right now in a direction that you're excited to step outside in because you've chosen to, or that you know you need to, you want to. So that's very, very, very important. You know, a really great question to ask yourself is like, what are you tolerating in life? What are you tolerating in business? There's people listening to this in business that know they're in the wrong business, know they're working with the wrong clients, know they're working in the wrong niche, know they've got the wrong offers, know that they've got the wrong team members, know that they've got the wrong relationship, know that they're living in the wrong house, know that they're living in the wrong area, and they're tolerating it, like, or hanging around with the fucking same shitty people that they were 3 years ago.
Yeah. No, this has been gold, and I suppose closing this episode off, people will see the restaurant, the home, the lifestyle, the cars, and all this stuff, and actually achieving what a lot of business owners set out to do probably before you should have at, you know, in your 30s. So when you think about financial freedom, what has financial freedom not solved that you thought it would have?
Well, I mean, the house, I'm not like, this is my natural environment, so it always shows up everywhere. I actually had a Ferrari for many, many years and never, like, I just didn't show it.
Yeah.
I only, again, slightly off kilter, but I was very secretive about the money that I made and the stuff that I used to spend the money on and all that. And then one day I had a bunch of people that came here. They're fairly prolific in what they were doing, and they didn't know any of this existed. And well, long story short, all of them, 7 of them, wanted to become clients after being in this environment, because they were like, you're doing something right, we want to learn from you. And that to me opened my eyes and went, what does my market not know about me that they should? And there were certain elements, because like, here's the deal. People don't buy from you because you're relatable. People don't buy from you because you're relatable, but you're also aspirational. So what I was initially doing was talking all about how I could be relatable, but I wasn't showing the aspirational piece. And the aspirational piece brought me better clients. Simple as. So if you're afraid to show that you're successful, and I'm not going to say it's a very Northern Irish thing, it's a collective thing in a lot of sense. But if you're afraid to show that you're successful or share your wins, you're doubting your own value. You know, some people do that strategically to hide their wealth because they think that they're going to get one up on someone. Whether you show your wealth or whether you don't, you're going to have people that criticize you. In fact, when you show your wealth and your success, it's showing who you truly are. And when you show who you truly are, then you're actually going to bring more people in. So most people fear of, if I show this, I'm going to lose that. But they don't think, if I show that, what am I also going to gain? So you got to be very comfortable owning your success, because if you don't, it's scarcity thinking. And I suppose for me, I love making money. I enjoy making money. I love spending money. But money does not define me. I define me. And I mean, all this stuff here is, you know, it's all going to rot. It's all going to go into the ground. When I'm dead, none of this shit's going to matter. And the most important thing is my relationship with myself. And my relationship with myself is firstly grounded on a mission, and then my internal narrative. So the mission is the thing that excites me, grows me, challenges me, develops me, and allows me to put the skill sets that I've acquired into play, but also identifies the areas that I need to build skill sets, new relationships, and new beliefs in order to keep growing and expanding in my life. Like, I want to expand, I want to get stronger until the day that I stop. And that internal relationship is the most important currency of my wealth and my fulfillment, is how I, well, it can be summarized in 2 words, and it's the 2 words that are the most powerful. It's I am. So how do you classify yourself to yourself, and how do you classify yourself to the world? It's the words I am. I am a father, I am an entrepreneur, I am a whatever, like, or I am the world's best leader at this. Like, how do you define yourself? And those are very powerful words.
Incredible. Phil, thank you very much. I could listen to you for hours, but unfortunately we've got a time cap here. You've got other stuff to get on with. But anyone that wants to check out Phil, he's on all the usual platforms, etc. And yeah, thank you again for your time.
My pleasure, and thank you for putting this on.
Legend.